Hey guys, Akil Stokes here, and welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. In today's episode, I want to share with you an interview I did with Traders Podcast earlier in the year. This was a very fun interview where, of course, we talked about trading, and Joe and myself shared our insights from over 25 years combined in the business. But we also talked about the other aspects of trading that you may not see in your normal YouTube video, you may not see on your normal social media, or even in your normal book. And that talks about what it takes to treat your trading like a business, what motivational factors kept us going through those very hard, struggling times, the importance of family, how to control your own outcome, and why that should really be the goal of everyone. And even how to disconnect from trading, how, although you dedicate so much time to trading, that getting away can be just as important. So I think it's going to be a very important podcast for any newer trader to listen to, and a great reminder for any experienced trader as well. So make sure you check it out. Again, the podcast was called Traders Podcast. You can search it on YouTube and find a few episodes. And of course, do me a favor with this podcast, the Trading Coach Podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you leave me a rating and a review. And if you're listening anywhere else, please do me a favor, like it, share it, and subscribe if you're brand new. All right, hope you guys enjoy, and let me know what you think.
First off, I just want to welcome Akil Stokes from Tier 1 Trading onto the podcast. He's actually our number one. He's our first
number one.
Just like in trading, number one. So I want to welcome him. I'll quickly let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you. First and foremost, appreciate you having me on here. Glad that I can be kind of the first one to kick off the show. That means I don't have anyone there's no pressure from following someone that did an excellent interview. I like those no pressure situations where it's a win-win opportunity for me. But yeah, seriously, pleasure to be here. It's I always love doing interviews. I love it, not from the perspective that I get to talk to other traders and hopefully inspire them with my story and some of my words. But from a personal perspective, it's always kind of cool to reflect where I came from. I'm a trader that was like many traders, probably like yourself, that just struggled for an extremely long period of time and eventually came good. And I think keeping that fire, keeping that motivation is something that is needed to maintain success.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, when I first started, all I did was listen to trading podcasts and whatnot. And the idea of this show is to not only interview professional traders, but also interview traders that are learning. So other learning traders can hear their struggles and go, oh wow, I've got a similar struggle as that guy. It's not just me in this game alone together. So, and that's the struggle I had when I first started. I thought it was just me that sucked at trading. So, all right, cool. So first off, I'm just going to ask, how did you actually discover trading, and what got you interested in trading?
Well, I got into trading. Originally, it was I kind of fell into trading by accident. My father did a great job of just teaching me about investments, and starting from a young kid where it's like, hey, here's a savings account, put some money in there, to here's a certificate of deposit. You put your money in here, they keep it for a while, but you get this type of interest in return, to a money market. And as I graduated college, I unfortunately, or maybe fortunately now looking back, graduated right during the start of the recession here in the U.S. I didn't really have much to do. I decided to go to graduate school because I honestly couldn't get a job, and I was embarrassed to tell family members that I was unemployed. And just talking to him, he just said, hey, you've done this. The next form of investment, the next level up is to get involved in stocks. So I started learning the stock market. I started investing some of the money I had in the stock market, and I did pretty good. Now, looking back, I was more of an investor, wasn't a trader. Nothing I do now is what I did in the stock market. So looking back, I always wonder like if I would have been better, maybe I just got lucky. But however you look at it, I did well in the stock market. However, I didn't have enough money to make any significant type of money, right? For example, my first stock that I bought was Apple, right? Bought it at $99. This was like, what, 3 or 4 splits ago?
Whoa.
$99, right? But I could only afford like, what did I have? I probably had like 10 shares. Had like 10 shares at Apple, bought it at $99, sold it like at 200. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. The stock price doubled. And I looked at my P&L and I'm like, well, I didn't really make anything life changing. Like, don't get me wrong. It was good, but it wasn't something that changed my life. And I'm like, I can't live off this. So I started looking into other means of, hey, I'm good at this stock thing. And Apple's just one example, but I'm good at this stock investment thing. How can I turn this into more of a career? Because I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. And I started to really fall in love with investing and trading. And I dabbled in penny stocks for a little bit because everyone, penny stocks make a lot of money. You can buy all this stuff with a little bit of money. And I failed horribly simply because I had no idea what I was doing in penny stocks. I thought I did. It was a completely different game than kind of mid-range investing. But eventually that led me to Forex, kind of the same principles of, hey, you can make more with less. And the cocky side of me, I guess at the time was like, hey, I'm good at this stock thing. I'll be good at this Forex thing right away. It's just a different market. I'll just hop in and pick up where I left off. And unfortunately, I learned multiple hard and expensive lessons that wasn't the case.
I think we all go through that when we first started trading. I think that's what attracted me to trading as well. Is it's kind of like your salary is uncapped with it, and you can make a lot of money in a short amount of time. However, that can be really dangerous as well at the same time if you don't know what you're doing. I never actually got into the stocks very hard. I did look into it when I first started, but never actually really went full through with it. So yeah, that's good. How long have you actually been trading for?
This was back in 2007. So that's going to be what, 12 years. Now, again, many of those years were spent unsuccessfly trading. So I don't know if I guess you can call them trading. It makes it look good for the resume. But technically 2007, about early mid 2007 is when I first got started. So it's been about 12 years already. I'm getting old, man.
Well, I started during the GFC, 2008. So 11 years ago. And I say 11 years, but 4 of those years are unsuccessful. So
there we go. Go ahead.
I still say 11 years though.
Hey, we went through those struggles, so we might as well count them as part of our learning curve.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's where people go wrong as well. Is it took me 4 years to become successful, and people want to try to do it in a week and 2. That's what I find from mentoring people. They go, I really want to be successful this week or this month, and I'm like, hey, just chill out a second. I know you didn't see my struggles, but it took 4 years. So
it is ridiculous how quick people want to be successful in trading. Like, and you look at any other field, like you want to go out there and be a doctor, you want to go out there and be, some type of engineer, right? You train for a very, very long time.
That's exactly what I
yet for some reason in trading, it's like, okay, so I can't make mega million. I can't be ready in a week. Exactly. I mean, even professional sports. You go through all the different levels, and it's like, 4, 8, 10 years of your life spent training to finally make it where you can do something great. And trading, it's like, okay, a week. If I can't make it in a week, then it doesn't work. And it's weird.
I think as well as this, it's like an emotional imbalance. You might get into it. You might put $1,000 on an account, lose it in an instant, and go, well, this is not for me. So I did that multiple times. So, yeah. So like, what struggles did you really go through when you first started before you actually got to the stage where you're consistent or even break even?
Well, I went through, I probably went through all of the struggles that you can imagine.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons that I became successful in trading is really because I made basically every mistake that you can think of.
Yeah.
And, at first, a lot of those mistakes were I would use them as excuses, the normal stuff where it's the system, it's the market, it's this, it's that. And then when I eventually started owning those mistakes is when I started seeing the benefits. But I made all of them. I think the biggest mistake overall, if you kind of want to, just as from a pure philosophy type of standpoint, is I spent so much time worrying about the what and not the how. And what I mean by that is that I spent so much time trying to figure out what to trade, what strategy, what type, fundamentals, technicals. Just give me that magic system. And if this strategy didn't work, it must not work at all. I'll go to the next one. And really, once I kind of accepted the fact that, hey, it's me, it's not my strategy or anything like that. It's me that's messing up. And I started focusing on how to trade, just the pure skill of technical analysis from, since that's what I use, reading the price chart, learning how to make predictions, not any specific strategy, but just kind of learning the language of the market and learning how to do things the right way. That's when I started seeing a massive change. And it's funny how things fell into place. And of course, I'm like, well, why did I waste so many years doing all this other stuff? But I guess it all happens for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think we all go, I don't care who you are, we all go through the same thing as a trader. We all focus, and I call it the cycle of doom. It's like you find a strategy, you take a loss, you get all emotional, you find another strategy. You take a loss, get emotional, and you just keep, because you think it's a strategy. And what I struggled as well with when I first started is I thought you had to have like a 90% success rate or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know some great traders that have a 40% success rate. And that's what I try and tell people all the time. Don't worry about your success rate, all right? Yeah, that's not the important part. It's really down to, what I boil it down to is risk management. When I first started seeing consistency was when I started controlling my risk and my risk reward ratios. That's when I saw consistency.
I think that's number one thing, which you just mentioned is one, throwing out the idea, the concept that your win percentage has to be super high for you to be successful. And risk management. I mean, I've had the luxury of being able to talk to a lot of traders from different levels in my experience, some high level traders, and then obviously learning traders. And I always think of myself as a student as well. And one of the main keys that I always pick up from anyone I talk to is that, hey, like some of the best traders of all time are between 20 and 40%. There's a guy, Peter Brandt. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. I love Peter Brandt. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's in my opinion, one of the most successful traders of all time. He's been consistently profitable, I think, like the last 14 years, and he's like a 40% trader.
He is. Yeah, and he still gets like a 56% return. Last year, I think it was a 56% return.
Yeah, I mean, 40%, 50-something% return. And that's another thing, right? People will laugh at 50% return. How do you do that daily? Yeah, all right.
Do that for the rest of your life then.
Exactly. Like if you're making 50% returns daily for the rest of your life, you wouldn't be on social media telling anybody about it. But risk management is key. That's something that I really focused on over the last couple of years. And I always knew it in the back of my head, but I think I never really accepted it. I never really preached it until I really started realizing that it really is key. Like just manage your losses, addition by subtraction. Just don't do the dumb stuff that takes away from your profits. The profits will be there. And I think even as younger traders, we never really had a problem winning. I think all traders kind of win. The bad part is we just give it back right away.
Exactly.
So if you just stop giving stuff back, you're left with profits, and it's amazing. But I guess it takes so long to accept that with how the industry is painted.
Exactly, and I think a lot of it as well is what you see on social media now. When I first started trading, there wasn't like all this Instagram and all that sort of stuff. It was, but now with Instagram, you just see trader after trader. They're living this life. They're showing that they just made 10 grand profits every day, and I'm just like, look, that's not realistic. That is not the realistic expectations of a trader. And what I tell people is, think of trading. I always say this, you got to have a business plan. I've got a business plan, right? And that has my risk control. That has what happens if I go through a drawdown period, all these sorts of things. And And what I always say is, think of your trading as a business, right? When you take a loss, you just paid your business expense, such as rent or employees, that kind of stuff. Helps you psychologically deal with it a little bit better. It helps me anyway.
Yeah,
And
that's true. That's true.
and you wouldn't, a business wouldn't go buy a T-shirt for $100 and sell it for $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
you buy the shirt for $20 and you sell it for $100.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good. I mean, I've always thought trading like a business as well, but that's a great way of even just mentally understanding, like I said, dealing with those expenses.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. So, yeah. And like when because you mentor a lot, I mean, you're co-founder of Tier 1 Trading, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
co-founder of Tier 1 Trading. Yep.
Yeah. And, so you obviously mentor a lot of students and whatnot. What struggles do you see them go through? I guess it's the same things, isn't it, that we went through?
Yeah,
And
it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think that they could do to improve themselves? If you could just give them one piece of advice to improve themselves, what would it be?
Well, process over outcome. Something I love to say, and it's just focus on doing the right thing. You just mentioned that you look at trading as, trading as a business, and you have a business plan. Your business plan lays out everything from how you're supposed to trade to risk management. So if you just come in as a trader, and obviously it's easier said than done, but focus on executing your business plan, and the results will handle themselves. And it's like any other business, right? If you think of like a chain restaurant, like, someone opens a McDonald's. McDonald's has an established business plan out. Here's what you sell. Here's how you sell it. Here's how you make it, blah, 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 your signage, your deals. And assuming you're doing things the right way, if you just follow the business plan at your McDonald's, you should have a profitable store.
Yep.
And it may not be profitable every day. Who knows what can happen, especially in trading. But if you do the right things, and obviously you've taken the time to test them and make sure they work, now it's just running through the system, executing the system over and over again and extracting that edge from the market. So I think the biggest problem I have, or I see with newer traders, is just switching their mindset from being results driven. It's all about P&L, 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 to really focusing on how to trade, not what to trade, and really focusing on doing this process the right way. And if I do this process the right way, the results that I want will come as part of the outcome.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what I see as well. Is I always tell people, if you look at a chart, I get people ask me all the time, hey Joe, I don't see anything on the charts. What do I do? I say, get up and go outside. Just don't trade until you see something that is familiar, something that you know that works. Like for me, I back tested my trading system. Back testing is a big thing as well. I think you have to do if you really want to know how great you can perform in trading, you got to back test your trading system, and I always tell people as well, you can't skip the losses. Even if you can see it's a loss, don't skip it.
Nope.
I did that when I first started back testing my system. I'm like, well, I've got like an 80% success rate. I'm like, wait, hang on, I didn't count the losses.
It's funny how you're doing your back testing, and conveniently it's like, I probably wouldn't have entered that one.
As soon as you see it's a loss, I'll scratch that one aside.
But then every single winner, right? It may not even be, well, you know what? I would have taken it.
Exactly,
I would have taken profits because, and it's like, stop making it work. You're just going to disappoint yourself. Like I try to look for more losses. That's the way I do back testing. If there's any question or doubt, I'm like, no, loss. Spread would have got it, something like that. I'd rather have much worse results and prepare for the worst than kind of inflated results and deal with a false sense of reality. But
I think that's where people go wrong as well. Is, they dwell too much on losses, and they get too much of a high on the winners as well. So when you take, let's say you take 3 winners in a row, you're like, well, yes, sweet, just won. But if you take 3 losses in a row, you're feeling crap all week. You're down all week, and
exactly,
but it's a part of trading. I mean, if I showed people my trading record, it would be like loss, win, loss, loss, so win. It's just random. It's just random numbers. So
mine is the same way. Same way. It's like you never know when it's going to come, but all of a sudden you put it together. It's like, oh, okay, well, it was profitable.
And that's as well as sometimes you see those setups that you're like, this is perfect. This is a winner, and it ends up being a loss. That's why risk management comes into play as well. So
Exactly.
yeah, and what actually kept you going through those stages when you were just losing money, when you were consistently like not profitable and whatnot?
I would say two things. One thing was my desire to not work for anyone else in my life.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a workaholic, and I started working at a young age. And I work hard. I'm someone that just
yeah,
filled the calendar with as many hours as I can doing, whatever would give me a check. And I remember for about 3 years or maybe 2 years, I was working about three jobs, and I was making good money. I was making about 30,000 coming out of college. I had, no family, no kids or anything like that. Was living with three roommates. So for me, it was like, being a millionaire.
yeah,
And I was excited to do it. I didn't necessarily like all three of the jobs, but it was a means to a paycheck, and I was cool with that. And I remember waking up, and I used to be drained because I'm putting in like 16 hours a day, and I'd be drained. And I don't know why I was thinking about the future. Maybe, I had a girlfriend at the time. Maybe, probably her family was bugging me about, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? And I started thinking like, okay, well, I do want to marry her, and I do want to have kids and all that stuff. And being the numbers guy I am, I always plan. So I started looking at what kids and houses and all that stuff cost. Like, I'm like, oh man, this 30,000 ain't going to cut it.
yeah,
Not here where I'm at. And I think it was a combination of that, knowing that I couldn't do what I was currently doing for the rest of my life. It was good now, but as I got older, it wouldn't be enough. And the ability that, or I guess the realization that I was tired of working for someone else. I was tired of being told when I have to work, what I have to do. I wanted kind of financial independence. I wanted to do what I want to do. And I saw trading as a way of doing that. And the second reason was I was also very passionate about it. I had this conversation with someone on the internet the other day, and they don't believe me. But I said, hey, I would trade even if I weren't profitable. And they're like, oh, you're lying. It's easy to say that. Well, I'm like, I'm not. I traded so many years like you without being profitable.
exactly.
And it's something that kept us going. And I think for me, it's the game. I'm a big sports nerd. I'm a competitor. I think it's
You're
the
a coach,
game.
aren't you? You're a track coach.
Track coach as well. And I think it's the game of not only trying to get better each day, no matter how fast you are, no matter how good you are at a sport, like the top athletes are trying to get a little bit better. But it's also the puzzle of knowing that we're trading this puzzle that can never perfect it. We will never perfect it. There's no trader or algorithm that will ever perfect the markets. Yet we try and we think we can. Even if we know we can't, we lie and we try to get a little bit closer each day. And I think that's just, for me, that's fun. It's just, I enjoy that chase, knowing that I'll never get there. I'll never get to that carrot completely, but I'm going to try and get closer and closer and closer and closer. And in doing so, I can be pretty profitable as well. So I think those are the two things, financial independence and just a genuine passion for the puzzle that the market is.
Exactly. And I think it's owning your outcomes as well. Like, it's really owning your outcomes in trading. That's what attracted me to trading was I mean, after I left school, I never went to university or college. I was just doing odd jobs here and there. I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was doing odd jobs here and there. I was working endless hours for horrible pay. Yeah. And then I landed a job in construction, and I was doing painting for a while in construction sites and all that sort of stuff. And then I was just like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like, I can't wake up 4 a.m., drive like an hour into the middle of the city, find a parking for the next 40 minutes, and get on a construction site, get yelled at by my foreman, and then go home. I was like, I can't do that. And then my brother actually got me into trading. He's still not very profitable, but but yeah, and I think that's what attracted me to it. What attracted me to it was you could own your outcomes in life. Like, if I want to go on holiday, I don't have to tell my boss. It's like that. And it's, as well as me, like I've got kids at home, so I can watch them grow up. It's the best part. I can play with them, take them to the park during the day when I've got all my tasks done. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love the phrase you put out there, own your outcomes. It's a good way of putting it, because you have complete control over,
exactly.
you have complete control over you. I mean,
Yeah.
your outcomes will be based on you and not someone else. There's no boss that will decide whether you get a raise or not. It's performance based and
uncapped salary is what I say.
exactly. And I'm right with you on the kids. And that was, once I had kids, that was the biggest thing for me is that freedom of time. Just the ability to, I see so many fathers and mothers out there that can't go to their kids' play, or they can't go to practice. They can't go to this. They can't go to that. And like the ability to be like, hey, I'm going to go see my kid in his kindergarten play, or I'm going to take my kid to the park in the middle of the day, or I'm going to teach him how to ride a bike. Like just the ability to
I
do
see
that.
a lot of that stuff in your story.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's valuable. And I think it's very important. I had a really good father. I have a really good father who, did a lot for me. As far as I can remember, he was there supporting me in everything I did. And I can imagine the sacrifices that he made working a 9 to 5 to do that.
Yep.
So I want to be that guy to my kids. I want them to look back when they're older and be like, hey, my dad supported me. And even though he's working like a lunatic from home, doing the trading and the coaching and the business, he was there for the moments that I wanted him to be.
Exactly.
There. That's the most important thing for me.
I think that's the best part as well is my dad, he lives in Sydney, Australia. I live in Brisbane. We're like what's an hour flight away, but it's like a 10-hour drive.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think growing up a lot, he traveled a lot for work, so he was never really home much. And when he was, he'd be home for like maybe like a couple of weeks at a time, but he's always overseas traveling for work. He still does. And he won't retire though. He doesn't like the idea of retiring. He's like me. He's a workaholic. Like you got to keep yourself busy. So yeah, and I think that's for me is like, what I like is I can be there for my kids. I can take them to school. I can pick them up from school. I can, all these sorts of things. So it's really, that's what I try and push to people when learning to trade. I don't push the income side of things. I push the freedom. It's your life, man. No one should have control over that except you.
That's good, man. I like that. Control your outcomes. Yeah. That's really good. I love that.
And so it's a great thing. So we're almost at the end of the interview, but I've got a couple more questions.
All right.
If you could go back in time to when you first started, you could go back and be like, hey, Akil, look, it's me from 10 years in the future. What would you tell yourself?
Well, there's two things. I'll give you one serious one and one, I guess it is serious, but not as. I tell you what, I recently got kind of blue light filters in my glasses.
Yes.
Trading destroyed my eyes, man. Staring at screens for countless hours a day.
Yep.
Destroyed my eyes. So that's one thing I wish I knew about previously. But again, I would tell myself from a trading perspective, again, just instead of trying to use it as a get-rich-quick scheme, instead of looking for the shortcut, I would really tell myself just invest that first year in just learning how to trade. Don't worry about making profit or finding a strategy. Just learn how to trade. And, I think I would have cut, I probably would have cut 1.5 years, if not 2 years off of my learning curve. Now, I don't regret the lessons learned. That allows me to be a very good coach now. But if I would have done things the right way, I probably would have been 2 years ahead of where I am now, as far as just learning how to trade instead of focusing on kind of what to trade and the secret strategy to success.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lot. Like I always tell myself, and this is something I always say. The glasses thing is spot on. I mean, I got glasses. If I take them off, I can't see anything. When I went to the optometrist, as I was walking out, he goes, "Everyone make way. There's a blind man walking." So it's that bad. But I think what I always tell myself, if I could go back, is one key thing I would tell myself is don't even look at the money, look at the percentage. Look at the percentage of risk, look at the percentage of return. Don't look at the money. Because I always say, if you can make a 50% return on $1,000 account, not that no one wants to do that, right? Because it's only a $1,000 account, 50% return in a year. Like everyone's like, well, but I say if you can do that on a $1,000 account, you could most probably do it on a $100,000 account. And that's what I say. Don't look at the money. Look at the percentage.
Yep. Yeah. You consistent with your percentage, the money will be there as a result.
Exactly.
Yep.
And some years
That-
are gonna you might get it 30%, some years might get it 50%, whatnot. But and it's as Peter Brandt says in one of his interviews. He goes he went through a 15-month drawdown, and he said if he didn't have risk control, he would have destroyed him. And it comes down to I've never experienced a 15-month drawdown, but I've experienced a 2-month drawdown where I was either consistently break even, I just wasn't making money, and I was a little bit lost and that kind of stuff. But it all comes down to risk control. And if you can't control that, it's going to happen. You're going to go through drawdowns.
Yeah.
And that's something I would have told myself is control your risk.
Yeah, Imagine how many people can't go through a 15 trade drawdown.
He went
with the way,
15
with
months.
the yes, I mean, imagine
Yeah.
he's going through 15 months and can survive that with proper risk management. Imagine the traders out there that are over leveraged and they're bragging about all these
Exactly.
returns.
Yeah.
Can they can your account handle 15 trades? If you can't handle 15 trades, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember doing the calculations some years ago and like how many trades I would have to lose consistently to blow my account. And I think it was like 200 something in a row.
Yeah. Mine's like that. Yeah.
And I'm like, look, by the time I got to 199, I'd probably quit and just say, you know what, I'm not good enough.
Exactly.
It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't even be there should be zero risk of blowing your account if you're managing your risk the right way. Yeah.
And my risk is a lot of people call me crazy, but it's 0.5% of risk, 0.50%. That's what I risk. That's what I feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Look, there's no, I mean, just the freedom. I forgot who said this, but I always heard you should trade so small that a loser shouldn't hurt and a winner shouldn't make you happy. I mean, when you're trading 0.5% of risk per trade, I mean, you could take 3-4 losses in a row, and maybe psychologically you start to think about like, am I doing things the right way? But there's no financial pain there.
No, exactly.
It's so little, and that allows you to trade the way you're supposed to trade without these outside emotional influences kind of pulling you to make bad decisions. So
Exactly. And like in my trading plan, it's 0.5% risk per trade with a maximum of 3 open trades at any given time. So 1.5 exposure at any given time. And bare minimum 1 to 2 risk reward ratios. I don't go for 1 to 1, so 1 to 2 or more. So I could lose 2, win 1, I'm back at break even.
Boom.
And that has kept me going for so long. And people go, why don't you get like a 5 or 10% risk? I'm like, well, what if I take 3 losses in a row? There's 30% of my account gone or 15% of my account gone. That's a heavy hit.
And like you said earlier, that's what people don't understand. Everyone's focused on the profit, and it's like
Exactly.
I remember doing an example of showing people like we have a position sizing spreadsheet or whatnot that you can kind of go in there and play around with risk and all that stuff. And I did some experiment because someone was talking about doing blah blah blah. And I was like, look, I made a 300% return last year doing this. Yeah. I'm like, but I would never do that because luckily this was a very consistent month or consistent year with not really big drawdowns. But even the drawdown in there took like 20% of my account away. It's like you would never do that in real life because you're one drawdown away from blowing everything. And people are like, well, if you made 3,000% or 300%, why wouldn't you do that? Like you don't get it. You can do that for a few years and maybe you get lucky and be good. But what happens when you hit that one drawdown, you blow everything? Then what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do then? You're nothing.
Yeah, I think a lot of, and I always say this to people that come to me is, I always say, and what I really see them going wrong is they're focused on, I call them the Instagram traders. They're focused on the Instagram traders. They're focused on these guys that are, flying to different countries every single day. They're making like they say they're making like 10, 15 grand per trade and all sorts of stuff. And they've got like a $1,000 trading account. I'm like, come on guys, like be realistic here. Be realistic.
Think about it. They're catching every bit of every move.
And they're trading from their phone on the beach.
Yeah, from your phone. From your phone.
Yeah. I'm like, you cannot live consistently like that as a trader. And like me, I've got a proper office set up here at home. Once I'm out of the office, I'm out of trading. I don't even have the app on my phone. I found when I did have the app on my phone, I was checking my trades too much, and I was micromanaging too much. So once I'm out of the home office, that's it. I'm not working. So
I'm the same way. I'm done. Out the office, I'm done with it.
Yeah, you don't even want to think about it.
If I want, I'll come back later in the day and check something if it needs to be managed, but I'm not. You don't want to be, like you said, we got into this for freedom of time. Like we're just a slave to our phone checking trades. Are we really earning that freedom of time? No,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
trading.
Exactly. So, well, cool. Um, any question? Sorry, any advice for new traders before we end the interview?
No more than we talked about. I think
Yeah.
you gave a lot of great tips. I mean, I'm sure I did well, but
Oh, you did. Yeah, you did
I
fantastic.
think, yeah, I think we covered, I think everything that a new trader should be concerned with, especially just like the mindset. I guess if there were one more thing I would say to new traders is, I know there's the temptation to try to trade the most profitable strategy. But in my opinion, you really have to trade a strategy that fits kind of with your personality. If you're
Yes.
a naturally aggressive person, don't trade a super conservative strategy. If you're a natural conservative person, don't trade a very aggressive strategy. If you believe in the trend is your friend and always being involved in the trend, don't be a counter trend trader because yeah, they're just gonna, doing something that doesn't work with your true belief is gonna cause you to make mistakes. It's gonna cause you to lose trust. So you always want to kind of be within yourself. There's so many trading styles out there, so many trading strategies out there. Find one that you're comfortable with, even if it's not the most profitable one, because by avoiding those mistakes, and again, managing that risk by doing so, you will end up being more profitable than if you tried to trade something that you weren't comfortable with and just shot yourself in the foot day in and day out.
Exactly, 100%. That's great advice, and that's like me. I'm a trend trader myself. I'm just always following the trend until proven wrong, and I always say trend is your friend until the end of the bend. But I know you're a counter trend, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm counter trend by nature. I do take some trend trading opportunities, but obviously because I'm counter trend by nature, I'm a lot less aggressive for them. So I'm typically, instead of I like to be involved on the same side of the trend, but I'm not necessarily looking for that extension. I'm not looking to ride it. I'm kind of looking for first place of danger in your typical counter trend trader approach, get out. But I used to be strictly counter trend. And then just over the years, I've kind of evolved, and I found a way to trade the trend in a way that just doesn't go against my beliefs in the market and my comfort zone, I guess you can say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. Just find your comfort zone. You know, same with day. Like me, I personally, I prefer swing trading. Like I love swing trading. So, and that's the thing is, you're a swing trader, you're a day trader, you get to be both, I do both, but mostly I like to swing trade. So, and it's just really finding your comfort zone, as a trader. Like, are you comfortable trend trading? Are you comfortable sticking with a trend, or are you more comfortable looking for reversals? So, yeah, cool. Awesome. All right, Akil, we're going to end this call. It's been 40 minutes, so it went quick.
Look at that. Yeah. Good conversation, man.
It was
good,
man.
really
I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you agreeing to be the first on here as well. So yeah, it's great. And I just want to thank everyone I just want to thank Akil for coming on and to the interview. And I hope everyone got some great advice from this and got some knowledge. And that's the idea of this podcast is I want it to be a little bit different from others. I want to get in the minds of you guys, of traders. So yeah. Really appreciate it, Akil, and I hope you have a great day.